Hey guys, nuts over.
Hey guys.
So you ready? You ready to do some rholang, Rich? Well, we can't hear you, Rich. Are you ready to do some nut zipper?
Well, let's try.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you good. That's great.
It's, it's late
Excellent.
here. It's late here, so I can drop off real quick, but I will try to do until I fall asleep.
Uh,
Good,
what
good
what
man.
what time is it for you?
11 p.m.
Okay.
Good work. That's the effort that's needed. I know the feeling. For my part, Jim, yes, I'm ready to do some rowing. I just tried to go through our one-to-one session from a couple of weeks ago, which has helped, but also made me aware of my confusion at times. So, but let's go.
Yeah. So you didn't watch the one from Monday?
I'm afraid not, no. But sorry if that's a problem. But just go ahead. I'm happy to observe for an hour.
Well, we also like uh, to get people involved in the process while they're here. And uh, I guess
Okay,
we have some protocols for that.
sounds good.
Okay,
I could do.
if you go into the general channel here, there's a link right at the top here, which is also in the pinned items. Which this is we try to pin all the relevant items to the channels that make sense. And if you go into a channel and something's not pinned there, we like to pin it there so that cooperatively we can build a knowledge base of these things and have all the links at our fingertips that we need. But the log document, okay, starts out with almost all the links that you could ever need that have to do with the collab, as well as the schedule for the collab and the norms and things, which are evolved from many people touching it. It's a cooperative document. And things that people are excited to get into that we're not doing yet, future. And then we have simply heading to items, which is the date and what we do. And we usually put in, and Audie takes care of this. Now, at the end of the month, we do reward people in Rock that's sponsored. So, we've been having 10,000 Rock a month sponsored that we divide up among members. I can show you that if you want, but there's a link to the reward sheet right here. Okay, and so we have the community app development, which is us. Okay, and I'll put this link in the chat. Normally, Audie would take some notes if he's here, but many hands make light work. Whoops, we need to do that. Right here in the chat is the link to the document. And what we do is normally is somebody will scribe, and if we have to sociocratically elect someone to scribe, we do so.
Fair enough.
But
Do you want me to get a pen and paper and do some scribing?
no. It has to be live, in line, in the log. And we just put in the participants.
Mhm.
And hopefully, if Adi joins us, he'll come in. And of course, at the end of the month, one of the things we do is we look at the document history. Hello, anybody home? And we see who made updates and assign them rewards at the end of the month. Okay.
Cool.
So at least people get credit for the doing stuff, although depending on, we divide up the monthly allocation among all of us. So if people do very little work, you can get a good reward. But if everybody works, you could end up with pennies on the dollar.
I take your point. And it's a little bit subjective what carries what value, I guess, because it has to be.
Absolutely. And,
fair enough.
We at work studies, we cooperatively try to come up with a consensus. And so far, whatever anybody wants to put in, everybody else says okay.
Nice.
But then, then it gets, sort of like you can't go over 100% on a project, on a category. So,
of course,
if you think you did 50% and someone else thinks you did 30%, then you might say, okay, 40%, whatever. But we allocate a budget per project, per area.
Got you. So that's 10,000. Not that I'm looking for rock particularly. I'm looking to learn, but just for a record, that's 10,000 rock across all projects.
Yeah, you want me to show you that? I can open the document.
Whatever you think. I don't need to. Up to you, Jim. I'll let you lead because you might have a lot to cover. It might be worth looking at.
Well, we want to learn some rowlang, so we don't want to get too much into
let's get to whatever rowlang then, unless Nut Zipper wants to see.
Yeah, so we'll be having a couple work studies soon where we go in, decide what tasks we want, how much we're going to budget each task in the green here, and then how much rocks we have sponsored, and then people fill in percentages here. And people get paid if they put an ETH address in here. A lot of people contribute and they don't put an ETH address, and we usually don't bother to put in their contribution. But for the people who put in an ETH address, we give them a reward. And of course, the ones who don't collect any are more like sponsors, because that means the other people get more.
Exactly. Makes them popular. Cool. Thank you. Worth seeing. Appreciate the aside.
Okay. So let's see. So we want to start somewhere. And I'm not quite sure where to start today. Why don't we start in the testing robot channel?
That sounds sensible to me, Jim. I had two ideas for what you could talk us through today. One was to continue from my point of view with the locker contract, but going through it, this looks very apt because one of the things I was thinking was I don't get robot and all the things around the rowline code I was looking at in the locker contract. So seems good to me.
Okay.
Sorry, and then the second thing was you've covered quite a lot in previous workshops. I don't know how much nonce has seen, but maybe we could talk about what has been developed so far. How far has this community contract development come? What is it at the moment?
Pinned items in the collab here. Okay, we can go to the document. Oh, and what we can see here is the user stories, and I don't have all the links here, do I? But we have a link up here to the repository.
Great. Hadn't got that far. I've read the Liquid Democracy document. Obviously, you've clicked on the Make My Locker stuff before. And here's the repository. Not that I know how to use Git yet, but great. Cool.
What? Community robot.
Sorry. Yeah.
Something is wrong with this because this isn't the right link. How do you like that? Yeah, Dan has to help me get this updated. It hasn't been updated in a year, I think.
I think I already see, though, from what you've just shown me briefly, I could look for myself. So many things to look for myself, but I could. So if you want to go back to a robot testing, if that's more appropriate, then let's get stuck in.
Yeah, now this is, yeah, that's where we're going. But it's really Jim Scarver robot, what this is.
And is that a, just because I'm new to GitHub, is that you forking the dev branch or something?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We have the RChain community, which I forked, and then we have Mezzi forked it off me.
Cool. Yeah, get the idea. Thanks for this side.
Okay, so if you go down here, you can go to locker.row. Okay, and you can review the code.
Oh, thank you for showing me, because it's a bit easier than rewatching the video. I know where to go to find the code now. Yeah.
That's my locker.row. It's the wrong one.
Okay. Yeah, locker's there.
Locker.row.
Fantastic. Thank you. And your version is current, is it?
That's current, right. And of course, you can go to the actual machine and look at it as it is in real. I mean, you can either log into robot.net or you can.
Could you drop the link for robot.net? Oh, it's there.
Yeah, it's just robot.net. And I forget the robot.net. I don't know if it's going to give us a list of things here. No, it doesn't. We manage this machine cooperatively, so feel free to help manage. But if we list what's in var www/html, we can see that there's robot. Okay, we can try that. Robot/row. And this gives us the index of all the files, robot files today, including the temporary files that aren't part of GitHub. What's
the rowx extension? back, I can guess. H must be headers.
This rowx is the actual what download it.
Yeah, interpreted code.
How do I fix this so it doesn't download it? I don't want to download it. I just want to display it.
I think I can guess. Is it going to be X noughts and X ones? It's like the.
No. The thing is that there's macros that are used in some of the rholang files. It's like we don't know what the we don't know what the URN for the inbox contract is going to be on a particular network at a particular time. Okay, on testnet it's going to be one thing. It varies. So we have $inbox as a variable. It gets replaced. So after it replaces the macros in the file, it puts an X at the end of the file name. So it shows you exactly what the rowlang that was compiled after the last time it was run, after the macros were expanded.
Totally get you. It's like the deployable code.
No, it's actually not deployable because whatever you did when you were testing it is going to have different values for the macros in production or on testnet.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, bad choice of words. So the source code is the .row, and
right.
the .rowx is the executed code or something.
Sometimes when you're debugging something, you want to be able to know exactly what was executed.
Got you. Thanks.
So you can find the bugs. That's the main reason for that. Okay, so we probably should pin more things in the testing channel, but in the rhobot channel, we have things like the cheat sheet, which shows all of our commands, all of our primitive commands for rhobot. Okay, do you know how to use any of these commands?
Show, I think we've used an echo $locker, show my inbox, was it?
Yeah, show.
Yeah, it shows.
It tells us how the macro is defined. So we can say show $std out, for example, which is $std out is just a convenience macro. Makes it easier to type your rowlang commands. Okay, so we can see that standard out is defined just as the string here, which defines the name standard out to be the power box. I hope we didn't bore NetZipper to death.
Let's go with that. I suspect I might have bored him. Sorry, but please carry on because it's useful, Jim.
Okay, so we were looking at the
robot testing. Were we going to look at?
Yeah, we were going to work on the robot testing channel here. Robot testing, and you were interested in looking at the locker contract, and we could do a find. Okay, and of course we can look at it on GitHub if we want to find out what things use lockers, or whatever. We can do a find locker here.
Typo.
Whoa. And we can see that all these lockers are defined for these different people.
Mm-hmm.
We can see we have a make my locker. And we have a couple of other make my lockers here. Or my lockers, I should say, not make my lockers. Which we could investigate how they work and what they do if we wanted to. We could say, what does this my locker do? We can do an eval of my locker 2 code. Or, all right, maybe we shouldn't look at 2, maybe we should look at the regular one, just my locker. Okay, and it takes one argument, which is code.
Is that actually an argument as opposed to a literal then? Yeah.
That's an argument. It's just a dummy name.
Yeah, sure.
That we call it. Okay, if we look at this, oh, I did an eval. I didn't want to do an eval.
Suits me. I need to just stop my washing machine. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, I accidentally typed eval here. Let's try to execute this. Okay, and then it tells me locker nonce is undefined or the wrong number of arguments.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I put in $code here, which has no meaning whatever in an evaluation. What I wanted to do was a show. Or I could have done it echo. Echo will actually replace the arguments and put them in to where we are. And oops. I decided I was going to do my locker, not my locker 2. And we can see, now we see this code.
Yep.
Okay. And, we didn't echo here, but we gave it a dummy argument here, the code. So in here somewhere.
There you go. Near peak, underneath peak, $code.
All right, we're going to see that it tries to execute some code here. Now, obviously, this code is no good. Okay, but what it does is what this thing does, it defines a bunch of names, and then it finds my locker. Okay, like we had defined here, locker of Jim Scarber.
Yeah.
Okay, which is going to be a URI of some channel, which I can look up using the row registry lookup. So we look up the locker, and this percent is a trick that rholang uses to concatenate a string.
Okay. So I can think of it as a concatenation operator.
Sort of, but it's for concatenating names. It's special. Concatenating in rholang is a plus for just 2 strings, like we use here.
Ah.
Plus.
Yeah, I follow you.
So if we're trying to make a name that's made up of
$locker, $my username, and an underscore, correct?
Yeah, right. Locker underscore, and then Jim Scarber.
Yeah, got you.
It's going to be calling this macro.
Yeah, just before we go on, I do follow Jim. If you just scroll up a little bit, sorry, up further, what this command here, so find locker, I totally follow why it returned the make my locker in that list. What I don't quite follow is why has it returned every individual's locker? Do they actually? I thought the individual was like a username passed to the locker contract, so I would have perhaps only expected to see make my locker in that list, ignoring the things below it. Whereas instead,
it has to have a way to. It has to have a way to know where what the URI of my locker is. Okay, now if I echo locker underscore Jim Scriber, okay, it prints it out. So I could just put this in every time I want to access my locker.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I do make my locker again and it changes, well, then any place I use this old URI is no longer going to be any good.
Got you.
I have to go back in all my programs and change the number for my locker to what it is now. Defining as a macro, a global macro like this is sort of a crude way of doing it. What is it? It allows us to use the ability to define a macro in order for it to remember the URI for our locker.
Yeah, and then you can just update the macro if the rhobot macro if necessary.
Yeah, if I do a make my locker again, it automatically changes the name Jim Scarver. Locker underscore Jim Scarver. I
think I see. So if I looked about it. Yeah, if I looked up the find command in that rhobot macro cheat sheet, it would say find will match any substring that
any macro.
Yeah, I sorry, I'd misunderstood what find did. Hence my silly question. Please carry on. I'm good with it now.
Okay.
So we were sorry, we just got through the sending on the lookup channel. $locker %% my username, and I follow the concatenation of names.
So I got my locker. And it does a get. It sends a get operation to the locker. You get the contents of my locker.
Yeah, I'm with you semantically, but please just carry on.
Okay. And here it logs define locker nonce of my username to be the locker nonce +1. And the reason is every time I access the locker, I have to increase the nonce by 1.
And that is to track history somehow, or?
Well, yeah, it makes sure things are in order and aren't done twice. Because if I said do this and I didn't say give it a nonce, and there was an echo in the room, you might do it twice.
Yeah, so the only time I've heard the word nonce in IT is in Ethereum transactions when I tried to submit with too little gas. But it's a more general IT concept, I think I'm learning here.
Yeah, it's common in security of various kinds, preventing repeat attacks.
I see, sort of. Yeah, I can see its purpose. I get what it is. Yeah, thanks. So it's a counter, basically.
Basically a counter, right.
Yeah, how would you, just out of interest, how would you know if it had been repeated? So it's all well and good creating a sequential sequence, but is that not stored somewhere, or?
Yeah, we just store the current value. So if you don't give the right value, it just doesn't won't work.
I see. Yeah. So it's just a yeah. You're unlikely to guess the right value. It's not impossible, but it's fairly reasonably strong sequential security. I get you. Thank you.
And when you access the locker here, you give the locker nonce value, but you're also giving. Oh, where am I actually? Okay, we're getting the locker here, and then we're. What is, oh, we're reading, we're reading the items. Okay.
Yeah, which came from the line above.
Oh, here we get them, right?
Yes,
here we give a signature.
Yes, we're calling the get functionality of locker.row. Is that right?
Yeah. Now we're called right. We called the locker contract to create my locker with nothing in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to get the contents of it, which at this point it's not empty anymore. Okay, so it is listening. It's reading a message, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arguments.
Are they all processes, those arguments?
Yes, you always send processes. You receive names.
Yeah, so get's a process. The $my private key. See, I thought
this gets replaced by Discord to be a toy private key. And this is used in the place of a signature here so that only you access your locker.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not really secure, but it's just temporary until we get the security.
I follow you. I'm imagining that $my priv key is a little more complex macro than just a string. It probably, I don't know, calls some JavaScript to look up a hash map between usernames. I'm making it up, but usernames and toy private keys. Is it that kind of thing?
Well, you have this Discord ID, which is this long number.
Mm-hmm.
And it just arbitrarily makes a key from that number. So you know how to, you could figure out,
Yeah, I follow.
It could be figured out, but this is good enough for prototypes.
Absolutely. And then the next one also returns a process, correct?
Returns, we're sending.
Sorry, sends a process, yes.
Okay, but this is the locker nonce. Okay, in this case, it's an integer.
Yeah. And will that be a quoted integer like the get, or will that literally just be a number?
It'll literally just be a number.
Which is fine, just like you can have bytes. So these processes can have various different types. How they get typed is much more sophisticated row calc than I've got to yet, but I get the idea. So these processes can become typed in a way that we semantically understand. Get looks like a string, etc. I think what I said there was not incorrect. Am I right? It was correct?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
So we've.
So I don't know if you want to look at the locker contract there, or.
I don't know. Not if you think it useful. Yes, I'm kind of happy with that line. But we've sent a load of processes to the name. Can't remember what the name was, and then But how it's going to then retrieve a get. And I get semantically that we're doing a get the contents of the locker, or we're working towards that. What I don't quite understand is how that actually returns us meaningful data in the form of a process.
Okay, that's different from.
I'll let you lead for a bit. I'm sorry.
Now, ndim on this machine does real rholang highlighting.
Great.
Okay, now we could look at it on the machine on the web.
Oh, nice.
But here we have the locker contract. That's where we get the stuff. Now, what we're doing here is we're reading the get, where we have get.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're so
yeah. So we've essentially called a function, or more precisely, that self contract is actually a for comprehension. So it's a read. So it's a name self, which is waiting for a set of processes to arrive that match its signature, which is what we just constructed within previous bit. Yeah, I got it.
And we're ensuring that the signature is a byte array.
Mm-hmm.
And the next nonce, we don't care. We're sending it an integer.
Yeah.
And the reason we're sending it an integer is because it's going to be a number, like 24. It's not going to be in quotes or anything else. It's because it's defined to be that way without any quotes.
Indeed. Thank you. That makes sense. It's at least I understand what we've looked at so far today. And having watched the video from a couple of weeks ago, it's a little bit clearer now. So thank you.
Okay, and then for.
So essentially, that underscore my locker, and then the four processes we pass to it, a couple of lines up. That then executes the rowlang of the smart contract self with a get parameter, correct?
Right, and then a byte string.
Yeah.
Which it requires. And then the locker nonce, which it doesn't care, it happens to be an integer.
Mm-hmm.
We look at $locker underscore nonce underscore Jim Scarver. We'll see what its current value is. And we'll probably see that in a minute when I try this thing.
If we ever get there, right? Okay, let's stop interrupting.
Okay, and then we're going to define it to be one more.
Yep, and print it out.
The items from the channel. And we have the items we read include a peak capability, a receive capability, and an inbox capability.
And in terms of pure rowlang, that's just a map, yeah?
Right. It's in
semantic
practice.
Yeah.
We have a label and a value, basically a label and a value, except it's a little more general than this. These are processes. So this could be any process, as you can use any process for a label for another process.
Well, that's getting clever. I hadn't tweaked that with maps, but yeah, so they're process, because everything's a process.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, numbers are processes. So you think of number as a process, fine.
But it could be coders. It could be a code that matches the peak process.
Yeah.
The star underscore.
You could be looking to do some kind of substitution. If the code you're passed matches this code, Well, don't do that. Do something else. Whatever. But this is reading anything, everything from the items channel. And then it does a match on the locker, which you could have done a match when it read it, but it's doing a match.
So underscore locker is an individual item from anything that comes in on the items channel.
That's the name, right. Okay, this is going to do a read on the items channel when it's coincident with the write on the items channel. Now,
Yeah.
Okay, what the last thing we did was we wrote the stuff to the items channel that we wanted to be in there. So
Okay.
that's already been done. So now we're going to read it.
Yeah. And it's just for the benefit of everyone else. I think I understood that. But the 2 lines above, the underscore my locker, which was actually calling the self contract with the get signature and the rest, that at the end of that little snippet of code of the self contract, it would return something on the items channel. Is that correct?
This is looking up the URI of my locker. So we have a URI. We want to get the actual locker channel. So
yeah,
we're reading that.
So is it that
look up. It returns its result to the locker channel. Here we read the locker channel. That was the result of the lookup.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then on that channel we get stuff, and the last thing we do when we're getting it is we return the whatever we find, which will be a process in the process items channel, which is why we can then read it lower down. Is that correct? So where you are, I'm making a guess that the 2 lines up there, so the line, the line below the highlight. My guess is that at the end, when that's executed and done its send, the last thing it will do is populate the process items channel, and it's
going to send whatever items you had in your locker.
Yes.
Send those to the items channel.
Yeah, and then it will. Having done that, that's why there will be something available 2 lines below to read.
Right.
Yeah, and I know it's simple stuff. It's almost obvious, right? I just wanted to check that I'd understood correctly what was going on.
Yeah, no, you almost can't go over this stuff too many times. To make sure, because it gets confusing, and and things like, well, why am I making this a name? And say, well, we've always received names.
Yeah.
Well, I want to use this as a process.
Yeah.
So rather than making it as a name, I define it as a process, and then I put a.
That makes sense, and that's because in the for comprehension of read, you're not just reading what's in items channel into a variable locker. What you're actually doing in the row calc is you're binding the process items channel to the name at locker. Am I right?
Underscore locker.
Underscore locker. And having done that, you can then match the name underscore locker to its processes as a map, I think. I'll let you continue, but I'm with you now through to the match locker in both semantically what it's doing and in terms of row calc and rholang, I think, or I'm not far away. So I understand as far as the match.
So we get out of our locker the ability to peek at our mailbox, receive items out of the mailbox, and write to right to the inbox.
That makes sense. So that contract self within it, before it returned on items channel, would have constructed presumably a map that matches what we're looking at.
A map is what we would have returned.
Exactly, and what we therefore expect to receive.
And we would receive everything in our locker.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is match having these things in our locker. Okay, a peek, a receive, and an inbox. That's what we're looking for.
Okay. So semantically I can think of that as locker content.
Yeah. And
does the equals greater than sign, that means something like continually read or persist?
No. This is a match statement. The first match statement you've seen, probably.
It is.
Okay, where we have a pattern, the equal, greater than, and then the code to execute. We have a pattern, an equal, greater than, and what to execute.
I see.
So if it doesn't match this pattern,
do the standard out.
Okay, underscore here matches anything.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, and so we're going to go to the standard out error, mailbox not found in locker.
Cool.
Okay.
Impressive stuff, yeah.
So that's the match statement. Add that to your repertoire.
God, if only I could remember everything we discussed. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. I get that.
Okay, and I guess we only were looking at this because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, indeed, but it's been constructive. I think I understand every line, which is a first. Genuinely.
But now I remember what it is and why I used underscore in front of my names.
I was going to ask.
This macro is intended to be used as a convenience so that I can say my locker underscore peak at standard out, for example. Not a good example. But what it means is,
wow.
And in the middle of the code anywhere, I can say I want to open my locker, and then I want to do this code. So I can put any code I want there that I can do without going through all the trouble of looking up,
Nice.
all this code, I guess.
Yeah,
it puts a framework on any code I want to execute.
Lovely bit of code. It's a utility function, yeah?
It's a utility function, right?
Yeah, nice.
Okay, and I can use it when defining other macros. Okay, right in the middle of one macro, I can say, I don't know, eval, eval, I don't know, new, I don't know what I'm going to need a new X for. But let's see, what do I have in my locker that I want to use? Let's say I want to take something out of my locker. Okay, I did a peek in my locker here.
Just hire it.
Yeah, this is where I did. I did the MyLocker peak.
Mhm.
Okay, which is the same as a peak colon.
Yeah.
That's standard out, but so that didn't really help me there. Oh, but you see, I did an underscore peak here, not a $ peak. And what I did in this macro was I used underscore in front of all the names. And the reason that I did that was sort of a convention. You know, if you're writing a macro that's intended to be used inside a rholang code, any names you use in there, so they don't conflict with the ordinary names that people use, start with
Right.
you start with an underscore.
Nice. So nice naming convention, yeah.
Okay, because when you type the macro,
Yeah.
And I didn't actually type the macro here. We don't know, you know, we don't want to mess with its names. Now, in the code we generate here, we could use other names that we've defined outside of here. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
It's embedded code, isn't it?
in this code, I don't know, if we have, I can say dollar MyLocker. And then in this code here, what happened? I did an X.
You did an enter, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you'd tweaked.
What I wanted to do was a back quote, scala, enter, eval.
Yeah. Remember this from our first lesson. Then you need 3 back quotes at the end to execute when you're finished, correct?
All right. And it looks like I got a bogus parentheses in here. New X in MyLocker. I don't know. We'll say star X.
Which will be the empty process.
No, that's the channel that I created here.
Okay, is it not bound automatically to the empty process when you define an unforgeable name? Sorry, please carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry, confused.
Oh, so what I guess what I'm doing here is so let's say I could say underscore peak. Chat. Steve Henry. This isn't helping.
Don't worry. I think I got it first time, and I think I get what you're trying to drive at. And essentially, you're saying you can embed code in existing processes using the $MyLocker utility macro. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's just a shortcut to open a locker and let you execute code in that locker.
I see. In terms of functionality, yeah, nice. It's really cool.
It's just an example. You may not actually want to use that though, but it can save a lot of typing.
I'm sure it's like Unix shortcuts in Discord. So, firstly, nice work. I like it. Secondly, thank you, because I followed the code of the utility function and why the peak that did worked. Can I ask a quick question about robot testing, maybe, to finish?
Sure.
Or not so much robot testing, robot itself. Is it written in JavaScript? And in fact, is Discord a JavaScript thing? I guess what I'm getting to is, can you say something about the technical architecture around Discord and robot and the way you've created these macros and how it all hooks into rowlang and calls the rowlang engine? Because we're sort of looking at rowlang, running it through Discord. It's really cool, and I don't really understand how that's been built, and I think it might be helpful.
A robot is written in JavaScript,
Mm-hmm.
and it uses the library discord.js.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we create a client, which is a new Discord client.
Mm-hmm.
We require gRPC here for doing stuff that isn't working presently.
Yep.
That's for direct connection to our chain. We're using the command line interface through a system call.
Yeah. So Google Remote Procedure Call, as you explained yesterday.
Right.
So it's an RPC, Remote Procedure Call, to the R-Chain blockchain, to testnet, I guess.
Right.
Okay. And that's how you would send your rowline down the wire, the text, yeah?
That's how we would, but it doesn't work right now.
Okay.
Instead,
So how come?
we're making a system call, and we're using the command line, our node.
Ah.
Okay,
So
we have code that uses this, but it doesn't work.
I think I understand. So you're saying you've got within your Discord session, you've got an R node running?
Not exactly. We have an R node on the machine. Okay, and
when you say on the machine, you mean the Discord machine? Or the Discord server?
Not Discord. Discord runs as a service, a third-party service someplace else.
Okay. So I load Discord. I'm loading a Discord client on my laptop that talks to a Discord service run by a third party. Separately, there's this discord.js, which you've got running where, on a Node.js server, or?
No, it's not. Our chain isn't written in Node.js. It isn't written in JavaScript. Okay.
No, I didn't. Sorry,
JavaScript server.
Yeah.
We're running on Linux on an Ubuntu system.
Yeah.
Which, we'll one of these days we'll do some more command line, which is what I'm doing here. I'm using the editor from the command line, and our node is running locally on this machine. On the command line, we run it cooperatively on this robot.net machine. And
now I understand. Okay. So when I use my Discord client, I'm communicating firstly with a Discord service run wherever. And secondly, when I type in these robot commands, they're recognized through whatever, I'm guessing some JavaScript in my client, and they're piping the command to your robot.net machine server. No? Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
is this client side code we're looking at? Discord client.
Yeah. No. No, it's robot that runs independently of Discord.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it talks to Discord with an API.
Oh, I see. You've got a putty client up on your machine, which is connected to the Linux robot server, yeah? And you're showing me code on the robot server. So it's server-side JavaScript running on the rhobot.net server. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So what I don't understand is how my Discord client sends code to this rhobot.net server.
Well, this robot actually listens to everything that happening
Yeah.
on the server, and essentially when it looks
Clever. I see. So you're hooked into the Discord service somehow, listening.
Yeah, we just
listening. Yeah.
You know, we create a client, and when the client says ready, okay, we create a node client that we don't use right now, and we display to the console that we're logged into robot.net. Okay, when the client when a message, so that means when somebody enters a message in any channel that a robot belongs to, it comes here.
Cool.
Somebody typed a message in the channel. Okay, and if the message equals ping, it responds pong.
Nice.
And it dumps the whole message to the console. And the reason for that is so that you can look at all the stuff in the that you get back from, in a message, so you know how it's structured. You can get that in the log.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But it's huge. Now, otherwise, you know, that was a sample that was a part of the bot. Then we have we'll get any message here. We log to the console the message, author, username, and the message content. So really, you know, everything that's entered in the Colab Discord really is entered on the log, captured in the log here.
And that's useful for future reference as well. Really good work, guys. Yeah, in that you never know, we might stop using Discord someday, and if you do, you've still got the history.
Well, we should format the log better if we really wanted to be able to reuse it.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
It's pretty raw as it is.
Still very impressive on top.
Then I check to see if the content matches the 3 back quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I take those off because they're not part of the content.
Yeah, of course.
Formatting.
Yeah, because you want to execute your scalar, and presumably scalars like type in Java space x.java. Yeah.
Right.
Certainly,
if we try to execute that as rholang, it's not going to know what it means.
Yeah.
Okay, in any case, we take that off because that was added later anyway, before we look for commands. And then this is the part of the code that uses the Archade API that's not working.
Which is more JavaScript. I see. Yeah.
Okay, now, so I look for the debug command here, which can set the debug level. And then I look for the find command here.
Good work.
And I'm not sure why I do all this.
Is this Linux stuff? Sorry, Unix.
This is what I'm doing is I'm creating a Linux command.
Yeah.
Okay, which which does a search for a define in the global.h file, which is where all the macros are defined.
Cool.
Okay, and then I exec the command, which isn't what I wanted to show you. So we have the echo here, which executes the macros and displays the results. We have the show, which shows how things are defined. If the content matches the show. We have, okay, finally we have if the content matches the eval. Okay, and this is where we define the user's public key, the username, message ID, author ID, private key. And then we write that to a file. Okay,
Yeah.
in the temp directory with the author name, comma rowx. And then we, and that's helpful for debugging too. But
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, we're going to call our node with it, and we're going to do an eval of the /temp
File.
/ with the author name, in this case .row. Okay, because what we did was we processed the macros.
Yeah.
We put all the macros and the program through the C pre-processing macro processor.
Through the what? C++
Okay,
or?
we did some editing on it.
Yeah.
And then we put it out to the .row.
Okay. Evaluable code.
Okay, and so then we just exec the bash code. And exec, what, bash, oh, comma. Okay, so, okay, JavaScript were the promises. I can exec the code, but I can't wait for it to get a response. So here's an argument to the exec is the promise, which in this case is the function that says what I want to do when it's done.
Okay.
Okay, and what I want to do is check for some errors and basically put out the deployment cost.
Yeah.
At the end when it's all done. But we can, have a JavaScript session where we go over in more detail here, but I wanted you to get the flavor.
I do.
Of how this
Thank
is
you.
done.
Yeah. So how does it know which R node to connect to, or? Sorry, no, you're running an R node, so you're already on the.
Yeah.
I see. So yeah, you're passing this to your R node that's running on this machine, and then
we're using exec to run a command, R node eval.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the same as if we're out of the program here and we just type R node eval. And let's say /temp / jimscarver.row.
Yeah, got you. So R node is a executable file somewhere on your Unix system.
It's installed on this machine.
Yeah, which is installed along with the R node service, and that file will call the R node service, kick it off. Correct?
Yeah. So apparently, the last thing I did, I screwed up. I accidentally typed exec eval when I didn't mean it or something.
Yeah.
See that on line 2, column 1, I got an error, and if I cat that file, I can see I did a new X in bracket. And,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
interesting.
I didn't finish it.
Yeah, indeed. So it created that for you as your last command. So it just keeps the last command.
Well, this is exactly what it did, is an R node eval.
Yeah. Lovely.
And then it got this error back, which, you know, I have some code there just to strip off all this noise and get the syntax error.
Nice.
I don't know if we can find that handy, but
yeah, no, I remember it. It was there. You go.
you found it.
Well, you went past it there. Eval.
Syntax error.
Yeah.
EOF.
End of file. Yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
it just, you know.
Two quick questions. One I don't expect you to answer now because it's probably as long as what we've just discussed on rhobot.net, and the other maybe you could. So, the easy question is, can I run an R node on Windows?
As a Docker file, you can.
And is it easy to run a Docker file on Windows? I've never used Docker. I know what it is as a container. I know it exists in, say, Microsoft Azure Cloud.
Does your Windows machine have a reasonable capacity?
Reasonable for a laptop. I can't remember the spec, or I'd tell you, but it's a newish laptop. And I would only want to run little rowlang programs on my R node, right? And or the reason I'm asking is Momichov, I think that's his name. Apologies, mate, if I got it wrong. But he's going to show me around GitHub. And what I'm wanting to work towards is getting a R node up and running. Now I could put it on, not to do anything high powered, just for myself, so that I can play with it and send, maybe connect to testnet and run a bit of code and see how much it costs in in testrev, and then obviously learn how to securely sign and send rev. That's basically all I'm wanting to do for now. But in working towards that, should I get myself a little Linux box, or am I all right on a Windows machine?
I think, you know, what I do, which is one of the reasons I haven't become expert in Docker, is I just install a Linux machine on my Windows box.
Which makes perfect sense. Is that easy, or is that?
It's reasonably easy.
Just Google.
The thing is, once you've done it, you've got a Linux machine for anything you want to do.
Yeah, I think
one thing. You know, it's not just for running R node, but
got you. And so that might be easier than learning about a Docker image. And is that just Hyper-V that you use to create your Linux machine on a Windows box, or is it even easier these days?
I use what do you call it? A VirtualBox.
Right. Oracle VM VirtualBox. Thank you. I'll make a start, but I'm thinking if I turn up to see Momichov, it might be nice to already have a Linux box ready, just in case we get to that.
Yeah, I think we have some videos in the can of setting up VirtualBox and running R node.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Well, in one of the channels.
Well, the way to find it would be to go to the channel of videos and search.
Okay, so there's a Discord channel called Videos on our chain.
No, we have a YouTube channel actually.
Oh yes, of course you do. I even easier. Yeah, thank you. I'll have a look round. I hope this is useful for other people
Yeah,
as
you
well.
look up VirtualBox or whatever, Ubuntu. There's some videos there.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to look at Ubuntu. Jim, thank you very much. And then my other question, which we won't go into because that was the easy one, was just costing. And do you know how? So if you submit rowlang to testnet, is the cost for running your little bit of rowlang? Is that going to be realistic, or is that just a bit random now, and it would change when we go to mainnet?
It'll change. I mean, right
Yeah.
now, you know, we're
I thought so.
working with test rev. We're not using real rev,
Exactly.
and you know, it's free.
Yeah, which is another reason I want to try now, because it's a good time to be running some.
There'll always be test nets, right?
Ah, that's good to know. Yeah, and it makes sense. It's obvious now you've said. Once again, thank you so much.
Very good. Thanks for coming on, and I think you asked good questions, and I'm hoping that other people find this video helpful. And without you, it couldn't have happened.
Certainly couldn't have happened without you, Jim. Thank you very much. Goodbye, mate.
Bye.